You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Adler and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and tonight I'm running solo. So we're going to try something new, something we've never done before here on the show. I recently came into the Star Wars Lego Ghost ship that just came out, I guess, a couple weeks ago now, as well as a couple of other things. And I thought it'd be fun just to kind of put this thing together, maybe ask or answer some questions, have a conversation with anybody that wants to join in, either in the chat, or I've thrown out some random invitations to some folks that have been on the show before and have asked them if they want to pop in at any point they can. So I'm not sure who could show up. You never know. I even threw some like old school reference type links to some people. So, if they show up, great. What I told Jonesy was like, I don't know if anybody's going to show up for this, but I'm going to put this set together either way. And it's just a bonus if we do. So this is meant to be kind of, interactive, or if you just want to watch me build this thing. Of course, I'm not going to get to the build all tonight. I'll probably do this over the course of several weeks here. I'll try to get it done before the Ahsoka series is up. So I think I've got 4 weeks now, and I want to do all of the building here on air live while I'm streaming. If for whatever reason I start to fall behind, I may kind of do some pickup work in between shows just to, so we're not sitting there after the show doing this. But so that's kind of the agenda. Again, if you got questions, we just did a whole show here. I think it was last night, as a matter of fact. We broke down the latest episode of Ahsoka, Fallen Jedi. So dense, so thick in terms of the stuff that was in there, that was presented to us from Dave Filoni. And, if you've got questions about that, as a quick reminder, we have this Sunday, we are going to be doing a Patreon exclusive show where we will be talking about the final scene in episode part 4, which was the big reveal. Anakin Skywalker showed up to the dance, and the World Between Worlds was there. And there's a lot of questions about, was he real? Was he not? Force ghosts, is there ill intent in terms of what he's looking for? Where the heck, how did Ahsoka even get to the World Between Worlds? So all of those questions and more, I think we're going to dive into here on Sunday. So if you're, again, Patreon member, please join us for the live stream on that, or you can just pick up the audio when we release that here the following day. So I think there are people already in here. So great. This is awesome. Thank you guys for joining me. And yeah, you can ask questions in the chat. Totally. I'll try to get to them. Hopefully I won't skip over them or anything, but it's, again, pretty casual, right? You can ask questions about Star Wars. You can ask questions about Ahsoka. I've watched a lot of ER and Law and Order. So if you want legal or medical advice, I probably can help you with that too. So it's totally up to you. All right. So here's I'm going to pull up the set. So if you've not seen the set, and I'm going to apologize for the ASMR because I think we're going to get a lot of that tonight. But here's the set. So $13.94 total pieces here. That's the front of the box. I haven't opened this yet, which I kind of want to do here on the air. And there's the back of the box. And I've got a cam set up so that you can see this a little bit better here. Let me switch the screens. There you go. So there it is. And yeah, the figures, it's got some, we talked about Harrison Dula already. We talked about the Jason change. His hair is a little bit different. It matches now what we know to be Jason in the show. So I really wasn't really upset about that at all. And then of course it's got Chopper. So I never picked up the first set. If you're interested in this set, it is out right now. Again, it just came out 2 weeks ago. I don't get anything for this. I'm just kind of letting you guys know. It sells for about $160. I think $160 before, tax and shipping, depending on where you got it. I think Amazon currently has it for $160. So, and Ash, I know you're in the chat, and I actually did bring something to show you because I think at some point I may take a little quick break from a little detour from the build here, and I will open up the Chatterback Chopper. So it's been sitting on my shelf, and we haven't done a Tatooine Trading Post, which is a show that we do where we kind of show, Jonesy and I would, show all of the stuff that we've accumulated, Star Wars, maybe sometimes not Star Wars related things that we picked up over the last week or two. And we haven't had one in some time. So this has come out as well. This sucker, I think, was retailing for like $80 when it came out. It was shown at one of the conventions last year, not Star Wars Celebration, but one of the toy conventions, and it was like a huge hit. But I think Amazon, I'm looking at it right now, is $72.99. So it's a little pricey, but given that it's very interactive, you know, it interacts with your voice, hand movements, and all kinds of other crazy stuff. I had to pick this up as well. So at some point, I'll break away and we'll get this cracked open as well. So, all right, let's get back to unboxing this thing. And now let me just be clear here. Quick disclaimer. I've never done this before on air. I have moderate success with Lego sets over the years, and I think all of them have been complete. Sometimes I end up with, you know, some pieces that probably should have gone in, and I didn't find a way to make them work. And I'm not saying extra pieces, because I think we always end up with extra pieces, right? But over time, you know, it happens. But so yeah, I'm not really the professional expert here on this. In fact, I've never even watched a video of people putting Lego sets together. I know they're out there. I know people do them, and they're highly effective, and they garner a lot of audience. But you're not probably going to get that tonight. So you're just going to get me making a bunch of noise and not able to read the instructions. So, all right. So I think. So I don't know if this is like a thing or not, but like the total number of bags is always like a big thing. Like, whoa, this is a 13 bagger. This is a 12 bagger. I don't know how many bags there are. It looks like there's about 11 of these suckers here. So I'm going to, of course, start with number one. And I'll get to thanks for the question, Qui-Gon Jay. I'll get to that here in just 2 seconds. Is there like a formality? Is there like a process that everybody goes through when you put Legos together? Some people build the minifigs first. Some people just jump right in. I know people that have tried to do these things without the manual, which is like ludicrous. Like, who does that? I mean, if it's like 20 pieces, okay, fine. But I'm not going to try this, you know, on 1,500 pieces. So I'm trying to find bag one, and then I'll just scoot all these over. Again, this is probably not the best audio. Okay, here's bag number one, and I'm assuming this hefty tome are the instructions. Oh, good Lord. So about as thick as, you can see that there. So yeah, Alex says you should do it blindfold. I'm going to have enough trouble as it is tonight, you know, with both eyes. But there's the book. It's pretty thick, quite a lot of pages. I put together, well, okay, to be clear, I never finished, but I did start the land speeder, like the really large land speeder. In fact, if you look back here on the camera, right behind the bonsai tree and some other stuff I've got there, you can see it. It's got almost everything on it. I don't think I ever put the engines on there yet. So maybe at some point, if this is, you know, moderately successful or worth watching, I may go back and do it. But I bring that up because in regards to that book, which was huge, that set was huge. This is a pretty hefty book as well. So still not on the likes of like the Death Star or the AT-AT or AT-AT, depending on your generation, but still pretty hefty. All right, I'm going to scoot all these guys to the side. And Qui-Gon Jay says, okay, I'll start. Let's see. Let me pull up his question here. As discussed on Discord, I think Baylan is trying to start a new way of the Jedi, and knowing how it goes between now and the sequel trilogy, is that really bad of an idea? Well, so no, I don't think so. Like, I mean, even Luke says it himself in The Last Jedi, right? He's pretty candid to Rey about where the Jedi went south, what went wrong with the Jedi. And, you know, you can argue whether or not that's true, whether, you know, he believes it or not, you know, all that. But at least from a canon perspective, that is the case. So, you know, is Baylan wrong for what he's trying to do? Probably not. The way he's going about it, absolutely. And I think in his mind, he keeps talking about the greater good. So he's rationalizing all of these, you know, dark side actions, in like murdering people left and right, and, you know, if anybody gets in his way, he's going to take them out, right? He's rationalizing all of that because he is doing it for the greater good. Because the greater good, I think, in my mind, at least in my current theory, is that he is trying to restore some Jedi order, or an order that's more what he thinks to be in line with, you know, we talked about the old school stuff, right? Even before, going back to Tales of the Jedi and going back to the Old Republic era, right? And even going further back than that, when you talk about the Jedi, to get into Legends, where they were more balanced, more in harmony with the light and the dark, good and bad, right? This all kind of plays into Luke's lessons too in The Last Jedi, but he may be coming from that level of thinking, that principle of thinking, that's really the true way to go. It's like true balance can only be achieved by being able to exercise both good and bad, rather than the dogma that we see in the Phantom Menace or during the prequel eras of, no attachments. And, I don't know, we can get into all the details on that, but I think that's probably where he's coming from. I don't know what else that's probably the most intriguing thing about this, his character so far, is what is truly his motive. What is it that he wants? I don't think he thought he was going to get power, the likes of which you've never dreamed of, or, to quote him in the second episode there. I don't think he was actually going for that. But I think now that's probably an added bonus, and it may be in the back of his mind to take advantage of that at some point as well. So, sorry, I feel like I got stuck answering the question. I'm just sitting here holding bags, which is super exciting and intriguing television, I know. So Qui-Gon Jinn says, I feel like he knows as long as the New Republic is around, he knows it won't happen. Yeah, they are going to be, I don't think they'll allow it to happen, quite honestly. And he's got a big task ahead of him too. So even if he was, let's just say for the sake of argument, or for the, sake of his argument, let's say he is able to do all this, and, he comes into some great power and he's able to reestablish a Jedi Order. The way he's probably thinking about going about doing this is probably not going to align with the New Republic. I mean, it's probably, I'm not saying it's shady or there's going to be some kind of dark side aspect to it, but, depending on the dogma and he's already kind of setting the standard, right? It's the greater good above all else. And it's not that black and white. It's almost like an extreme, similar to what the Sith think. I don't think it's an absolute. So, to your point, I think he's going to have a really, really difficult time trying to get people on board with this, potentially new Jedi Order. So it's going to have a lot of faults, quite honestly. All right, so I'm going back here to the build, and feel free to elaborate on some of that too if you guys want to chime in there as well. Before I go any further, Darth Cheeseburger's with us. Hey, what's up, man? Love you. Alexander. Hey, Alexander. And Alejandro, not to be confused with Alejandra. Ash is with me. Already said hello, Ash and JJ Skywalker. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining this. All right, how are you doing here? 12 minutes in. I haven't built a single thing. Okay, so all right. So bag 1 is to build the Phantom 2, and then there's 13 bags. Oh, okay, so this is a 13 bag kind of build set. Look at that. Right off the gate, man. We're building Mon Calamari. That should be a lot of fun. Hey, Risk, what's up, man? Thanks for being here. Thanks for popping in and saying hello. And you guys don't have to stick around. You want to say hi, drop a question, and I'll answer it. I'll probably release the video of this on Patreon, and maybe we'll leave it out there on YouTube too, if there's any interest. But so if you're a Patreon member, you definitely will get that. So, all right, well, let's put this little dude together here. They have always liked the new suits. At first, I didn't really like them that much because they were super blue, and everything that was in kind of, I guess that's the point now that I say that out loud, but during the original trilogy, everything was a little bit dingier, a lot of like earth tones, a lot of greens, there were some oranges. Yeah, I get it, the flight suits. But for the New Republic, they've got these like super bright, like jumpsuit type things. I don't know which camera works best here to show that stuff, but I wasn't a big fan of this, but it's grown on me. It's grown on me a lot more. And it was like this wave of blue in that first episode of Ahsoka when they were all standing there. So here's the first one. Okay. I don't even know where his gun is, so I imagine it's probably gonna come up at some point, but yay. Okay, that guy's done. All right. If nothing else, I've accomplished that. So, and again, going back to the process, like I've tried different things over the years where I've separated all the colors on the Legos, or I've just kind of had one big mess. I think the separating the colors works the best for me, but given that that's probably not something you want to watch me do is sort and color Lego, it's probably not the best use of my time. So I'm just going to try to pull these up as I see them. So I'm also a backer of the Hasbro Pulse Ghost. So if you've not been following or keeping up with current events on that one, it got fully backed. $600 was the total price. And now we have Hera, we've got Zeb, we've got Kanan, and we've got Ezra. So we're getting all 4 of those action figures along with the Phantom 2. Chopper's in there. Chopper seems to pop off the Phantom 2. But yeah, I'm pretty excited that that thing got fully funded. So it was a little, I was kind of worried, honestly. I didn't realize, and I think I forget now who somebody in one of our live streams for one of the shows had mentioned that it's they aggregate all of the backers. It's not just the U.S. And so when you go out to the website and you see that the U.S. totals there, it's kind of I wouldn't say frightening, but it doesn't look as positive as it actually is. And then the full number is taken into account all worldwide backers. So for me, to everybody else in the world that ordered this thing, thank you so much. Because in fact, now I've got a bigger problem. I don't know where the heck this thing's going to go. Like, it's huge. I was looking at the dimensions. It's like 36 inches wide. So, potentially 3 feet, almost by 3.5 feet. I don't have any space. I'm thinking it's going to go back here, or maybe it'll go back here. I don't know. I have to build something custom, but I would like to actually have it on display, especially when we're streaming. I just don't know how that's going to be realistic given its size. So I'm really excited about that. Qui-Gon J says, those New Republic helmets look like they're wearing Slave One on their heads. That's true. I hadn't thought about that. That's actually a really good observation. Risk, I'll come back to yours in a second. 80s Kid from 9 says, I think Anakin is there to teach Ahsoka one last lesson. Vader's lightsaber is a reminder to the audience Anakin destroyed the Sith. Ahsoka has to learn Anakin would always turn to the dark side. Yeah, I think so too. We speculated as much, and again, I'm probably going to spoil some things in this show. Maybe this is your exclusive, I guess, but I'm probably going to spoil some things that I have as far as talking points for our Patreon episode. And I'm with you. Like, I do feel this is going to be kind of one last lesson for her to learn. And I think it's more than just a lesson. We have the lesson between Yoda in the Clone Wars. In some ways, Ezra kind of went through his own lesson, Kanan in some ways as well. It's different for different people. But I do like the idea more than anything that Anakin is there, Force ghost or not, like regardless if you believe that he's a Force ghost or he's some manifestation of the Force, which is appearing to Ahsoka as Anakin. I do feel like through that lesson, she is going to have to learn to shed some of the guilt that she has. I think she feels guilty and responsible for Anakin turning to the dark side. And kind of like you're saying, the World Between Worlds would be a perfect outlet for, that Force Ghost Anakin or whoever that is to kind of run her through the scenarios. Like, and I hate to even bring this up, but similar to like A Christmas Carol, right? If you know the tale of the Christmas Carol where, he goes back and he goes and sees these different time frames and how his life has changed and that sort of thing. Similar to what you're saying now, where, this was it had nothing to do with Ahsoka. I think she's bearing that guilt. That's on her shoulders. And for Anakin to help her see past that, this was inevitable. This was the will of the Force, right? This was something that she couldn't prevent. And no matter what scenario played out, he was always going to go to the dark side. And he had to go to the dark side. Let's not lose sight of that. He had to go to the dark side because he was the chosen one. At some point, he had to bring balance to the Force. And the only way that was going to be possible was he had to rise in ranks on the dark side as part of the Empire so he could actually have an advantage to take out Palpatine and again, restore balance. So I like that idea, honestly. I hope that's where they go. We'll find out. So good question. Yeah, thank you. So let's see. Risk. When is Balin going to turn on Morgan? Yeah, I think so. I don't know. So I know the circumstance, I think, or at least I think I can predict the circumstance in at least one of the circumstances in which he would turn against her. And I think this goes back to what we've been talking about with Balin. So Balin is just a phenomenal character, quite honestly. He's amazing in every way. And credit to Ray Stevenson for what he's bringing to that character. But I think it's probably going to be a scenario where, much like the Republic fleet, the Republic guards, and I guess he was a lieutenant? Whatever it was on that first cruiser, right? They got in the way of his mission. He was about to let him pass. He was about to go past them, go get Morgan Elsbeth. There had to be no bloodshed. They got in his way. He took them out. Ahsoka, he was fine just kind of battling back and forth. The minute she tried to stop the map from uploading, his demeanor changed. He went full on, started, swinging for the fences at Ahsoka because he had to take her out. She was now an obstacle. She was now going to be impeding on his progress and fulfilling his mission. So I think at some point where I could see him doing that to Morgan, because I think technically that's his employer, although it's never really been confirmed just yet. We know they're mercenaries. They've been paid. We don't know who's paid them, and that could be important maybe later down the road. But if Morgan gets in the way of his goals, because I think, and so if you've not heard on some of the other speculation shows, my theory is that they all kind of have their own individual, they have their own individual agendas in terms of what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish. And if one of these people get in the way of his agenda, yeah, I think he's going to have something to say about that. And what I mean by that is he may try to take out Morgan, or, because he's thinking larger picture. He's thinking about the greater good. So thank you, Risk. So Qui-Gon going back says, love that. He needs to help her with her guilt the same way he did Kenobi. Exactly. Yeah. There's a lot there. Callista, thank you for being here. Does Ahsoka think Anakin is dead or just unreachable? So, I think he, let's see. So if we go back to season 2, Twilight of the Apprentice, she saved him, right? So I don't think she thinks he's dead. I think she saved him. Going back to that scene specifically, she takes her lightsaber, she puts it down into the ground to break the ground because everything's kind of collapsing. And she basically gave her life up, if you think about it from that regard. Like, she exposed herself. She made herself vulnerable. We could see Vader, going back, about ready to swing at her and kill her. And that's when everything kind of fell through. So I think, I believe that she does feel, or he is alive. There's also, at this point, she's been living out there in the galaxy, and she's probably heard rumors and seen things. I think in the last season of the Clone Wars, we get some bits and pieces of some, they're kind of laying some of those foundational things, even in Tales of the Jedi when she fights that Inquisitor. So we know she's out there and she's kind of seeing this stuff as part of Fulcrum. She probably has intel on what's going on. So, if it's more about the question about, does she feel like Anakin himself is dead versus the character of Anakin, is he truly gone? I think she's still holding on, maybe a little bit, or maybe not. I don't know. That's a difficult one. I can see where she could still be holding on, but I can also see where she's let go, and this is where that guilt is coming from at that point. All right, so I think I'm already stuck here because I'm yapping away, getting really excited about some of these questions, and I may have skipped a piece, but that's just the way it goes. Oh, okay, I see what I did wrong. So yes, thank you for that question, Costa. Awesome. Let's see. Aaron's got a question. Possible that the power that Balin is looking for is Ezra himself, since he has been in the world. Oh, is it possible that the power Balin is looking for is Ezra himself, since he has been in the world between worlds? Maybe that's why he brought Sabine too, to use her to try and manipulate, to show him the way. Yeah, I think so. Right? I mean, we talked about the world between worlds is pretty elusive. It's not accessible by everybody. In fact, we did a show exclusively on the world between worlds. I think it was a Patreon show, but nonetheless, we did one, and we did talk about kind of like, what's the entry like who can get in, right? Who knows where these things are, but more importantly, how do you get in? And I think we kind of said it was probably Jedi at most. I don't think just any average non-Force user or someone who's not in line with the Force is going to be able to kind of open up the portal. That was kind of apparent, I think, from those final episodes there when Ezra went into the portal. So yeah, I mean, if Balin is someone who has been looking for this ultimate power for a very long time, he's going to need a way in there. And unfortunately, right now, the people that know how to get into that world between worlds are pretty few and far between. Ezra is one of them. He has the other person that actually helped Ezra, which is Sabine. So I like the idea of him trying to find that. I mean, when you boil it down to the ultimate power, or power by, was it power by which you've never dreamed of, or again, whatever the quote is, there are only a few things in Star Wars, at least that we know of right now, that kind of fit that description. One is the world between worlds. And boy, I don't even know what the next one would be. Maybe the ability to transcend, to become a Force ghost, right? Going back to Ben Kenobi saying, if you strike me down, I should be more powerful than you can possibly imagine, right? That ability to live on in the afterlife, and to be able to influence Luke, or be able to influence others, is probably considered an ultimate power, right? Life eternal is an ultimate power. We know the Sith are going after that all the time. So Yeah, I mean, going after Ezra, using Sabine as bait, I can maybe see that. But I do feel, and I've spoken about this a lot today on social media, I do feel like he is a man of his word. And I said this on the show last night. I don't think he's going to bring any harm to Sabine, right? I think it's important for his character. I think he's a man of honor. And now, again, now the caveat being, unless for whatever reason Sabine gets in the way of this greater good, this ultimate mission that he has, I don't think he's going to bring any harm to her. And I think he's going to defend her, whether it's Shin, whether it's Morgan Elsbeth, or anybody else that's looking at her as a target now that she's been brought on board this ship. Anybody else, I think if they go after her, he's going to protect her because he did give her his word. So maybe, and it doesn't have to come to bloodshed. You know, he can still use her as a pawn and still use her as a bargaining chip to get something out of Ezra. Then that's not necessarily bringing her harm. So I can still see that happening. I got a lot of questions though about what happens at that point. All right, how does Ezra even get to the world between worlds? How did Ahsoka get to the world between worlds? Is she even there? That's another question that probably has come up here recently. So yeah, that's a great question. I think it's still to be determined. And I think when we find out again, I keep going back to this, but when we find out about what his ultimate goal is and what he wants, I think that'll start to help clear up the picture a little bit more about what he's actually capable of doing and how far he's going to go to reach that goal. I think some of that will shore up there in time. So thanks, Aaron. Thank you so much for that question. All right, I'm going back to this Lego build, and maybe puzzles were easier. Where's Kat? Did Kat join? Kat may be joining here soon. Kat does this, but she does this with puzzles. And it's so much more relaxed and it's less stressful. Because, like, I'm thinking somebody's been watching me sitting here holding this stupid piece for like 10 minutes and I've done nothing with it. So I apologize for that. All right. I think I'm on step 9. That's not bad. We're at 26 minutes. Okay. So maybe this is going to go about, 12 weeks before this whole thing is finally built out. 80s Kids got another question. Says, will Thrawn and Ezra be fighting the Grisk when the others arrive? Okay, so a great question and context. So the Grisk are an alien race that live outside of our known galaxy. And I say our, I mean the galaxy that we know and love as far as Star Wars, right? They're going to another galaxy. The Grisk are an alien race that have been in combat with the Chiss, which is the blue species that Admiral Thrawn is, okay? They've been fighting for a long time. Will they be fighting that war? I think it's possible. Thrawn probably has a vested interest. If they do bring a fight to his door, he's probably okay fighting that fight. I think once they do that, I think then we need to really start considering: are we going to get the Chiss in all their glory, the ascendancy? Are they going to be? I mean, he was exiled, right? So he's not the most popular person with them. And I don't mean that in a bad way. He definitely is popular in the sense that he's extremely smart, totally brilliant, thought outside the box. But that doesn't really align with the Chiss. They're about calculated attacks. They're about they're more structured, I guess, in then how they go about in their fights. And you have Thrawn, who's kind of able to think on his feet, pull audibles, do the unexpected, and have victory, have success. It's great, but it doesn't make them feel any comfortable. And that was part of his exile. So I say that because on one hand, I can see where if he is battling the Chiss, they may come to his aid because he still is their, race, and they're going to probably still defend him. And let's not forget that Thrawn, at least from what we know in the books, and this has been very consistent around in Legends and in canon, is he is doing it for the greater good. And the greater good is the Chiss themselves, right? The ascendancy, his people. That's his true allegiance. It's not Vader. It's not the Emperor. Those are means to an end, right? Those are tools in his mind. He's using those folks to get what he really needs, which is the security, being able to secure his people. So I think there could be a possibility there where they would render aid if they needed it. So, introducing though, here's the thing, that this is, with 4 episodes left, I think they are going to set up something for kind of what this great climactic movie or the big event is going to be at some point. And, something like the Chiss introducing a new race as a threat to the galaxy, I mean, that's pretty big, right? It's bigger than, oh, it's just Thrawn and the Katana fleet, or it's just Thrawn and a bunch of ships that he's cobbled together, or the remainder of his fleet. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, that's probably an opposing threat of sorts, but is it going to be the big event that we need? I don't know. We'll have to see. But yeah, introducing this race certainly would do that. The problem it does is it introduces a whole set of complexities that we've got to somehow solve and resolve before we get to the rise of the First Order. And we've got to figure out, like, where does Luke Skywalker play into all of this, and the Lando Calrissians and the Han Solos and the Leias, and this would be a galactic threat. And you got to think they would call in those A players. And so, if it's a book, fine. If they get into TV, they get into movies, we're almost going to have to see them. That gets expensive. It gets kind of slippery now with all the digital stuff. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm thinking. I mean, they could pull it off in a movie, but I don't know. It's a big order. I'd love to see it. Just I don't know that it's going to happen. All right. So I'll come back to the questions here. These are great, man. Let me see if I can figure out where I am on this one. So yeah, I don't know what I'm building here, honestly. What was it again? Oh, this is the Phantom. That's what it was. It's like, this is the longest build for Chopper I would have thought. So yeah, maybe next time, if there is a next time, I'll actually color code these things ahead of time, so I'm not sitting here looking for these individual pieces like I am. All right. I think this is fine. Look at that. 14, man. We're really like speeding up here. Build a Lego. Yeah, I'm trying, man. I'm trying. It's supposed to be both, and I'm probably not doing both, to be fair. That's all right. Let me go to the questions again. Let's see. Well, let me tell you, Risk got a comment. I wonder if Shin was Balin's Padawan before Order 66, or he just found her on her journeys. Yeah, we did talk about this. I think the story is more intriguing well, first off, I don't, age-wise, unless she just is aging brilliantly, or she's of some race that we're not aware of that looks like humans but ages differently, or, she's sleeping in the blood of Gotals, or whatever it is to keep looking young and fresh. I don't think she was his Padawan back then. In fact, I would say that he was probably closer to, I think he's probably closer to Anakin's age at that time. So, I mean, it's possible he could have had a Padawan. I'm not saying it's not, but she's aged really well, and he apparently has not. So I think what's probably more intriguing to me would be the fact that he went out and sought a Padawan. And, like, what was that pitch? Like, how did he know? Like, how did he identify her? How did he find her? Once he did find her, how did he convince her to come along with him? And what was he selling to her? I think that may come to light in one of these episodes here, because I just don't know that he's been completely, fully transparent with her and honest about what's going on. And she's already looking like, she's teetering on the verge of, I wouldn't say a breakdown, but she's getting pretty upset with what's happening now, especially now the fact that he's got Sabine as the prisoner, when all she wants to do is kill her. She was wanting to force choke her. It took like 10 minutes to find that piece. She was wanting to kill her and force choke her, and he's like, no, you can't, stop. I gave her my word. She's my prisoner, kind of thing. And you're going to obey that. So getting back to the question, I think, I hope it's the latter and not before Order 66, because I think that story is so much more intriguing about just how and the whys and what did he tell her he was going to do. I don't even think she knows. Like, if you look at her, half the time she looks confused, and Ivana Sanko is the actress. She does an amazing job at this, right? It just having this look of like her world is completely changing right before her eyes, right before our eyes. And it's only going to get worse, and it's starting to get worse. So yeah, we'll see. All right. I'm on step 15. If anybody's ever watched these things, am I doing, like, is this normal? It doesn't feel normal. This feels like it's taking much too long. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the Star Wars talk more than the actual build, because I think that's probably the better sell here. How did I order this in the title card? Maybe I'll put the Star Wars talk first, and I'll put a little picture down the bottom. Oh, and we'll maybe build Lego as well. So I think. Oh, no. I think I missed a step here. Maybe not. Okay, so the white ones go there. And those guys go there. Yep, yep. Hmm. Oh, okay. I see what's going on here. Make the figure shirts. I made the only figure I had available. Like I'm not gonna get out. Didn't you see him? I made him. He's right here. He's cute. Look at him. I mean, there are other figures in there, but I'm not crossing the streams, man. Like there's got to be law and order. There can't be chaos. I can't just go rip open bags to get to the minifigs. That's like anarchy. Why would you do that? Who does that? 80s kid. Who was Merrick? Hmm. So I think Merrick was an inquisitor. Honestly, I think he was. And I say that because of his fighting style. Like I don't think it was just something was animated and then that thing was imbued with the ability to wield a lightsaber, and certainly a dual lightsaber, helicopter lightsaber, with the proficiency that we saw Merrick wielding it with. So that's only one. Huh. Okay. So I think Merrick was again probably an inquisitor at some point, died at the hands of Ahsoka or who knows. And Morgan's Elsbeth's recreation. She reanimated him. And I know a lot of people are upset by that. I think I was pretty okay. I didn't get really honestly too weighted one way or the other about who he was and what the reveal was. And there were some really great theories out there, some really terrible theories out there. Sorry if you were an Ezra Bridger theorist or conspiracy theorist for Merrick. Yeah, I don't think we can be friends. Wow, look at that. My Shrek fingers just broke this whole thing. So, but yeah, there were some really good theories out there. And, headcanon is the worst, right? Because we tend to kind of make a lot of this stuff up in our heads. And when it doesn't happen, it can be kind of upsetting. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, I don't think I really had a big problem with the reveal. In fact, I like the idea now that we know he is animated, and he was animated with Dathomirian magic, Sith magic, that Morgan Elsbeth can just reanimate him again. I made the joke the other night or last night on the show, and I think I did it in Discord, but he could be the Kenny of this show, right? Where they just kill him and he comes back in the next episode. And all joking aside, I do like the idea that they can't really kill him off until they actually kill off Morgan. So they kind of have to go for, they kind of have to go kill the source before they can kill Merrick. So he could continue to be a character and be a thorn in the side of Ahsoka and everybody else until they actually off Morgan Elsbeth. I'm just making this Lego up at this point. So, whatever. We'll see what it looks like when it's done. Because I'm pretty sure that piece doesn't go there. So, yeah, hopefully, I don't know. I mean, if you guys have other theories that you liked. I mean, I like the Barriss Offee theory. I thought that was, I felt like that was great and it was credible. Mostly because we just never have known what happened to Barriss Offee, and she's been this kind of gap in Star Wars lore for a very long time. I didn't like of course, the Ezra Bridger ones. I saw the Star Killer ones, and the only problem with some of these is on paper they sound great, and I think they conjure up these memories of playing these video games or reading these books with these really prominent characters, and we want those things to be there. But again, you got to think about from a storytelling perspective. The minute they open that up and they say it's Star Killer, okay, granted, they don't have to get into the details about why it would be Star Killer, but it just opens up all kinds of complexities in the storyline. And maybe if it's just a name only, right? It's Galen Skywalker and they say nothing more than that. And he maybe is Force sensitive, but not the Galen Star Killer that we got from, the video games. Maybe that's enough, but you just got to be real careful with that stuff. And Filoni does like linking things. He likes linking things. He likes for everything to be connected. That's why he created the World Between Worlds, so that there was this kind of single place to kind of collect everything and have all these stories come together. But it only goes so far, right? We don't want everything to be so well connected that, you can't start. If he gets too connected, then you start losing some like creativity in what you can do with the storytelling. So I don't think he or many of the other creators want to put themselves in a position like that. All right, so this thing says I need 2 of these. Man, I hope we at least get the Phantom built. That would be something. Phantom 2, sorry. Grief. I keep breaking. Usually that's a sign that you did something wrong. It just keeps popping off like that. The Dale Mint's here. What's up? He says, hello. Thanks for being here, man. Really appreciate that. Go 5-minute Legos, 5-minute questions, tell a funny story while building. You trying to tell me how to live my life. All right, let me stick to building here just a little bit, and then I've got some questions. Miss Sunflower, thank you so much for being here. Oh, man, she's bringing in the Mortis stuff. I just happen to have a degree in Mortisology, so I am happy to field those questions all day, all night long. All right, so this part goes there. That part goes there. A funny story. I don't know that I have one off the top of my head. If you give me a subject, I can give you a funny story. Yeah, like I think it just depends on what you're looking for. That's my brother. I don't know why he's asking that. He probably knows all of my funny stories. He probably does a better job of telling my funny stories, quite honestly. I've also noticed lately with these Legos, like they get into these like really bright colors, and it threw me off. And I was like, why would I do that? Why would you use these colors like that? It just, doesn't go with it. And then you realize that, at the end of the day, it's all covered up. So I don't know, maybe they're saving money by using these colored pieces from other sets or something, but it is weird that they use that. Or maybe it's the color coding. Okay, now that I think about it, it's probably color coding because it's easier to distinguish between, pieces that are very similar in size and build, right? Maybe that's it. Okay, so this thing goes in here. The back area. This is where a time-lapse video would be great. Okay, this one goes here. What am I doing? Has it been 2 minutes now? I start talking about Star Wars again? And then this piece goes here. Ah, I gotta do it on the other side too. I can't work like this. It's too much pressure. By the way, they for anybody that doesn't know, they did release the Master and Apprentice featurette, I guess is what I'd call it. It came out on Disney Plus this morning, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. Maybe it did come out earlier. But that is out there now. And this was actually it was released ahead of time. I think a couple days before the premiere, they did release it on YouTube, of all things. But now it is on Disney Plus. And so I just wish they would have kind of released that prior to on Disney Plus, but I don't know that it makes a difference. But for anybody that is just now getting caught up on, who Ahsoka's master was and who Anakin's apprentice was, I think it does a decent enough job of kind of filling in the blanks in some way and understanding, the specialness of that relationship between master and apprentice. So it's only 7 minutes. It's pretty short. Again, if you've already seen YouTube, there's probably no real reason to watch it. I think at the time there was some cool stuff in there. They were actually showing some clips and some footage that we hadn't seen before. And so we dug into that on the show. But since then, I think all of that footage now is out. In fact, with the exception, I think, of Hera, who was standing there where the map was, where Ahsoka fell off the cliff. She's got a blaster out. She has her head cocked, and she's got a very puzzled look on her face, like she can't make out whatever she's looking at, or she doesn't recognize who she's looking at. That is, I think, that in the Thrawn picture, right? The shot of his face and him walking on that ship, the bridge of that ship. Those are I think the only 3 images that we've gotten, or 3 clips or scenes or whatever it is that we haven't seen just yet in the series. Otherwise, everything else, from all the teasers, the TV spot, the trailers, everything has already been shown. So from here on out, with the exception of those those three shots, we're in uncharted territory. Like this is all going to be brand new stuff. That's exciting, and that's been the formula, I think, too. They've did that with what they did with Andor. They did it with Kenobi. Pretty much every series. So probably expected. Okay, so that goes there. This whole idea of building Legos takes a level of like concentration and coordination that I certainly appreciate now, given trying to do this and have a meaningful conversation while I do it. It's not as easy as it looks. All right, you ready to talk about Mortis? I've like purposely not even looked at her question because I wanted to go in cold on that one. All right, let me get this last piece on here just so I feel like I made something. Look at that. Well, is that right? Jeez, man. Is that right? Oh, okay. Yeah, there we go. All right. All right, we're getting there. That's only taken 46 minutes. Okay, question time. Miss Sunflower, thank you again for being here. Says, is the daughter of Mortis the one who opens the world between worlds and the son the one that closes it? Because there's a theory that the son is trapped in the world between worlds and he needs Ahsoka to open the world between worlds so that he can escape. Okay, there's another part here. Sorry, I just saw that. And Ahsoka is the embodiment of the daughter, and when she fell off the cliff, the world between worlds opened up to save her. So I think I almost, and this is, I'm going to spoil what we're going to talk about tomorrow, but my further development on that theory I have of where she is and what's going on is actually leaning into what you just said there at the very end. Like Ahsoka is able to enter the world between worlds because she has some part of her is the daughter. Okay. So and just quickly, for anybody that doesn't know, Mortis is like this mystical planet where, long story short, Ahsoka died. And she was her life was there's three mystical beings, celestials, the father, the son, and the daughter. The father was the balance, the son was the dark side, the embodiment of the dark side, and then Ashla was the light side, the daughter, right? So they all died in that series. So let's all remember that they did die. The son was killed by Anakin. The father took his life, and of course the daughter died, and she gave her life to Ahsoka, and that's how Ahsoka lived. So I do like the idea that she is there and is able to go there because she has that part of her in her. Now, whether or not the son is somehow trapped, I don't know how to get there. Like, I don't know how to get there given that he did die. Now, he's a celestial, so I guess you could argue that, yeah, maybe he died, but because he is all powerful, all he did was return to the world between worlds, or now he's stuck in some kind of like purgatory and he's wandering around there looking for someone to, release him back into some material world or wherever he was, back on the planet of Mortis. I can see that. Okay. I can see that. But if you do that, then the argument is that the father is also there somewhere and that, the daughter is there as well. I think we're going to see Morai too, just to kind of throw that out there. I think we're going to see Morai the owl, which if you look back here over my right shoulder, how do I do this? This way? Yeah, there you go. That's her. But I think we may get finally get a live action appearance in this series officially. I think she did show up in one of the Mando series. I think there was people said they could see the owl there on or was it Corvus? I think was the planet in Mando, the forest planet. I think we saw that. So, and that's fine. I think I'm okay with that. But I would like to see Morai actually be there live action in Ahsoka's face, like we saw in Rebels whenever it showed up in front of Ezra. I'd love to see that in live action. So yeah. So going back to the theory, I mean, I think the theory is probably predicated on this idea that what we're seeing is really not Anakin Skywalker and is the son, right? He is evil. He's got ill intent. I can see, why some people are thinking that. He looks a little creepy at the end, not because of the CGI, but he looks like he's got an agenda of sorts. There's been some discussion around the lightsaber and whether or not that was Anakin's lightsaber from Revenge of the Sith or Anakin's lightsaber as Darth Vader. Hopefully people have had a chance to kind of slow that down and look at it. But it is the lightsaber from Revenge of the Sith. It is not Darth Vader's lightsaber. So there's no reason to get too excited. I can't even see what that piece is. Don't get too excited about it being Darth Vader's lightsaber, because I really don't believe it is. But yeah, I think again that theory is predicated on the fact that it's, an evil body. And if it is, then yeah, I think it makes sense that somebody like the Son would be the one that's behind it. I threw out a theory too. I think it was today. I was on Facebook and talking to some of the folks that had responded. I posted something about Balin, and there was a lot of discussion going on. And I had posted this idea that, that they're trying to get back. Like the son can't live without the daughter, and he can't live without the father. And so maybe the father's back and the son's back, and the only piece that's missing is Ahsoka, is the daughter, and they need to take Ahsoka's life in order for her for the daughter to come back and kind of bring the family back together and restore that delicate balance of the Force that we saw from the Clone Wars. I don't know that I even like that theory a whole lot, but I was just trying to get there with somebody on, what would be the motive for the son for wanting Ahsoka there in the world between worlds. But I do like the idea. Yeah. Sunflower says, and then there's also this comparison that Ahsoka is currently Gandalf the Grey, while the Anakin that she saw will be the Balrog, and that she will have to face to become Ahsoka the White. So Dave Filoni, like I mentioned last night, Dave Filoni really likes a few things. Specifically, Lord of the Rings is one of them. Wait, this thing has stickers? Okay, I'm not doing stickers. That'll be a disaster watching me put stickers on this thing. I mean, I like it. I like that theory, but that may feel a little too on the nose. Like, I like it more of just her going through some trials and tribulations. Again, I don't know if you caught the very beginning, but I was kind of talking about what Yoda went through during the Clone Wars. Something similar to that is probably going to be enough for me. I don't know that I need to get. I don't know that I need the actual Balrog scene. I think that would be again too on the nose. But yeah, I think it's great. I do like the idea. Alex, Star Wars Explained did a short on the saber. It's Anakin's from the Clone Wars. Yeah. And the telltale sign is the clip, right? So Anakin's clip was hung one way, and it was reversed for Vader. So that's usually the big telltale sign on which lightsaber you're looking at. Because otherwise, yeah, they do look the same. And to be fair, I mean, like, again, no shade on anybody that thought that. It's just it was dark. There was a lot of shadows. I got to build this thing again. Wow. Okay. Yeah, there was a lot of shadows, and so it was difficult to see. So I'm glad some people have actually done the legwork to enhance all that and kind of snuff out some of those theories a little bit. So she says, "Oh, so by the way, this theory is not mine, but I read it and felt more plausible than the other theories that I read." Yeah, I'm with you. Like I agree. Like if it's not going to be Force Ghost Anakin, and he's not there to help Ahsoka get past the trauma, help her get past all of the guilt that she's carrying for him specifically, and telling her very similar to, like if he doesn't say some iteration of a line that says, you didn't kill, to quote Kenobi, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did, right? I think similar to Kenobi, I think he was kind of feeling like, man, I lost my brother, and this is my fault. I let this go too far, too long. And I think there was some saving grace for Kenobi. I think he was better because those words were echoed, which I do believe was Anakin who was saying that, who was able to make an appearance to at least let him go and be able to allow him to move past that. So I think similarly, I would think that this is probably going to be her journey, and it could be that there is a battle, right? It could be that she's going to have to face some spiritual demon of some sort, or face her fears, like we saw Yoda do in the Clone Wars. That's all possible. I think that's certainly within the wheelhouse for them to show. But ultimately, yeah, I'm sticking to my theory of it's going to be Ahsoka the White. And then to kind of bring it back to what I was just talking about, when I said that there's still one scene that we have where Hera is standing there and she's got a very puzzled look on her face because she's not sure who she's looking at. I would to tie those together, I think she's looking at the Ahsoka the White, like she's reemerged. She's now whole. Maybe she has her staff. That'd be cool. I don't know. I don't know how they explain that or if they're going to get into it. But if she's got like some weird halo around her, or if you think about the way they did it in Lord of the Rings, the movie, the sun in the background, and you really couldn't tell until he stepped forward. Similar like that, I think Hera would be looking at that and saying, "This is not the Ahsoka I saw." Maybe she's even got a smile on her face. Maybe she seems at peace more than she has. That could be who Hera's looking at, right? Is Ahsoka the White, and it aligns with, again, not to kind of rehash yesterday's show, but it aligns with the Empire magazine. So here's where we are with the build. Look at that. There's the engines on the Phantom. It aligns with the so Dave Filoni did a interview with Empire magazine back in March, April, somewhere around there. You can go look it up. It's out there. And he was talking about that final scene in Star Wars Rebels, the epilogue, and he talked about how it was an opportunity for him to kind of do something like reimagine that finale now that they were getting to do the live action. So, if you're Dave Filoni and the end goal is to really bring in this Ahsoka the White kind of character as a tribute to Lord of the Rings and Tolkien, then, missing a piece there. Then rather than, because you got to remember when the epilogue was drafted and created, I guess, created for the show, what he was showing us was kind of the end product. Where does Ahsoka end up? What is her, that I'm probably never going to get to show. And so he kind of jumped the gun and really wanted to show this is what she's going to look like. This is her final, archetype. She's transcended from the Ahsoka that we've known throughout the Clone Wars, now into Rebels, and she's become this new Force archetype, whatever that may be. And now that he has the show, he's got 8 episodes and whatever that comes out to be in terms of minutes and hours to tell that story. And there's an opportunity here for him to scrub that from the epilogue scene like we saw. We saw that was missing. They kind of changed some things, and she was just gray. Now it's an opportunity for him to tell the actual story. We get to actually see how she got there. He gets to put that back in, and now we've got a Ahsoka the White in presumably the last 2 episodes and even beyond into the movies or whatever future series they want to bring her into as this new kind of character, this new Force power. So I love that idea. I mean, I would rather have that because that's going to be so steeped in the mythology, so steeped in Jedi and the lore. The Force and how it works, the weirdness of Star Wars that he always is good about bringing to it, that I would much rather have that. I love the fact that he's got some runway here to kind of tell that story and not just show us a picture. And let's be clear, like he's been very consistent too around, depicting Ahsoka the White in his animations and his little sketches that he does. He does a lot of these sketches. There's a whole scene where Ahsoka the White is standing next to Bendu. Right. So maybe I'm not saying we're going to get that scene, but that would be really cool to kind of see that. We've got scenes where I think there's one where it shows Sabine and Ahsoka the White together. Sabine's got her helmet on. I don't remember there was one that he sketched with Ezra, but nonetheless, there are sketches out there. So he is moving towards us. I mean, there's probably no doubt in my mind that he is trying to get us there and tell us the story of how she becomes this, and which I think we're going to need. I think we're honestly going to need that when we get to the big reveal of whatever it is, this new looming threat. And maybe it's just Thrawn, which is fine. But if there's something more there, then yeah, I think we're going to need a powerhouse figure like Ahsoka, a powerhouse figure like Luke. And my guess is we're going to get those characters front and center, doing the legendary stuff that we know they did and Luke talks about in The Last Jedi. Why do I feel like I'm missing pieces here again? All right, I'm going to finish this piece here, and then I'm going to open up the Chatterback chopper. I don't know, Ash, I don't know if you're on anymore. Hopefully you're still here. But I do want to open that up finally, because I've been waiting to do that. Yes. Gripping television as I look for a single piece. What the heck, man? All right. I'm supposed to have one more of these, and I don't see it anywhere. I don't think I used it. Did it fall down? I did. Okay. I'm not crazy. Here it is. Well, I am, but not this time. Let's see. Hey, Steph, thanks for being here. I'm hoping for this being their opportunity to have that much needed talk, and for all the warm and fuzzies to happen. I really don't want that to be Vader there, and maybe she becomes the White because she gets the opportunity to gain peace through a wonderful, fulfilling conversation with Anakin. Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Like, and there's been a lot of talk about how much we're going to get, how much dialogue we're going to get between Anakin and Ahsoka. I knowing Star Wars television, at least what we've seen so far, and not talking just about Disney Plus, I'm talking about even looking at Clone Wars and the animation stuff that came out prior to the Disney acquisition. We're probably going to get a mix. Like I think it's going to be pretty heavy. Like, don't get me wrong, and don't get I don't want to scare anybody or worry anybody. I think we are going to get really heavy doses of Anakin Skywalker. I think they're going to get into some very deep conversations, and I think we've been all wanting that and probably missing that and needing that, quite honestly. And Ahsoka needs that too. But I think we are still going to cut away and find out, the fate of Hera and who lived. I mean, outside of Carson and Hera, we might get some other things as well, some other scenes intermingled in there. We may get a shot or a couple. Get caught up to date. Maybe we get to see what it looks like, what that hyperspace travel looks like going between galaxies in the Eye of Sion. I don't think we're going to linger there too long, but I think we are going to do that. So what I'm saying is I think right now that episode is rumored to be between like 50 minutes, maybe up to an hour, once you remove the intro and the outro, which is a lot of story to tell. I just don't think it's going to be 50 minutes solid, 60 minutes solid of just Anakin and Ahsoka getting caught up. As much as we would love that and want that, and I think we all do, that's probably not going to be the case. So, plus it's probably pretty expensive if they're de-aging him and all the CGI that goes with that. There's a cost associated with it, so I don't anticipate that we'll get a whole lot there. But again, don't fret. I think we are going to get some really good stuff and kind of see some of these conversations that we've read about in fan fiction, theorized on social media, have just wondered about for so many years now. It's so exciting. I mean, what a time to be alive as a Star Wars fan, especially somebody who's a prequel fan. If you're a prequel fan, my goodness, they've just handed you a silver platter. I think I'm ready to just give up on this whole set. Oh, here's the piece I was looking for. Hey, look at that. Vader's Girls here. Hi, thanks for being here. I was talking about you earlier, and it was all positive. I actually don't remember what it was, but I mentioned you because I figured we'd be talking about Anakin too. So Vader's Girl, have you actually watched the most recent episode? And did they call the cops after you shrieked? That's the question that I think is. Okay, why can't I find this other piece yet again? That's not it. There's supposed to be another piece like this somewhere. Did that fall down too? I don't see it. All right, I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to go to Chopper. So, plus I need a mental break from that. Okay, so if you missed the first part of the show, this is the Chatterback Chopper. So this was again released just here a couple weeks ago, and it is it's I don't know, for scale. I guess you probably have a pretty good scale. I think it's maybe about 8-9 inches tall. Sorry, Vader's Girl says I have doing a show with watch with my friends on it. I was watching with my bestie on video chat and blew out his ears from screaming and crying. I figured as much. In fact, you were the person that I thought of when they aired it. Holy bananas! Hold your horses here, because look who's joined us tonight.
Hey, buddy.
Jonesy, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, man. How's the build going?
Really lethargically slow. I mean, we're an hour and 4 minutes into this thing, and this is how much I've built. Now, granted, we've had a really good, like, there's been a lot of great questions, and I've been just rambling on about theories.
Sounds perfect for you then.
Right, exactly. So it's been about, I'm going to say about 90% theory and speculation, and about 10% actual build. And I'm taking a break now because, one, I can't find a piece, and two,
they're in the bag. You have to look in the bag.
Yeah, I don't see it. It's funny too, because over the years I've had these instances where I'm like, Lego did not send me this piece. There's no way. I've looked everywhere for it. And then 10 minutes later, it's right there. And that's going to be the case. I can assure you that. How are you doing, man? Welcome. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, no, this is fun, man. I like seeing you're unboxing the chopper. I didn't realize you hadn't unboxed it yet and taken it out.
Well, I was before we came on air, I was kind of talking about it. I was kind of saving it because I wasn't sure when we'd get around to doing another Tatooine trading post. And I know Ash, I think she's probably dropped at this point. She probably got bored. But
yeah, it's been a tough ask lately.
You're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's been wanting me to open this thing. So I said, well, I'll do it on the air as a kind of little quick break somewhere about the midway point. And so here we are, finally getting around to open this guy.
So how does it run? Does it run like on AA batteries or something else or what?
It runs on the Force.
That's not how the Force works, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah. The force of batteries is how this thing works. I think
there's your missing Lego piece.
What?
It came off chopper in the wrong box.
Knock it off. Stop pulling my leg, man. I almost bleed you there for a second. So, I hope does it got batteries? Oh God, this is gonna be the most embarrassing thing if it didn't have the batteries already in it. Like, how are we still in this day and age where they ship things that don't have batteries?
Yeah, usually there's like a plastic tab. You just pull it out.
Yeah. Well, look at that.
Oh, look at it. It's man-powered.
No, I don't think it's man-powered. Well,
there's usually a booklet that comes with it. It's called an instruction manual.
Yeah, all right. We're making progress here. Chatterback Chopper.
It's normally bathroom reading, but yeah.
Yep, takes 4 AA batteries.
Oh boy, now you got to go downstairs.
Well, I'm not going to. I'm not doing that.
All right, you just have to voice act it for us.
I mean, unless you want to hold the fort while I go get batteries. I don't. Look at that. You can see that. Look at that. His little arms flop around there, just moving his head.
Yeah, it seems legit.
And honestly, you don't have to watch me play with this thing. Go out there. There's some great videos already that people have made. But I need to get I want to get it open. Yeah, it looks like I've got to add 4 batteries. I need a screwdriver. Holy bananas. Yeah, it's a lot. But this is cool. Like it interacts with like the things you say, the things you do. I love it.
You know, it kind of reminds me of. I've got this right here. 1 second.
So it's not. I mean, this is like if you look at it from scale wise. Once I've opened it up, it's not very tall.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of reminds me of the Sphero BB-8.
Yeah.
And I think they may have come out with I got like dust coming out. I haven't moved this in so long. I think they had like an R2D2 version of this too.
I think they did. And I think now I saw the other day someone posted that the app is no longer available out there. So
I mean, I'm not surprised. I mean, it's
yeah,
old as sin at this point.
You know what's funny is when that came out, I actually ended up buying 2 of the little wrist things, but I didn't have the Sphero. And I only bought them because I thought it looked cool. And I thought, I bet I could take that apart and like retrofit some kind of an Apple Watch or even an old school watch somehow into it, and be kind of styling, my, because it looked awesome. I thought it looked great.
Yeah, Kara said that she still wants to get Lola in the chat, and I'm guessing, Kara, you've probably seen Lola in action, right? Because I think Albert's even shown it on the stream once or twice. It is really cool. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
This is Lola here. If anybody, I gotta press her.
Batteries are dead there too. You got to go get more batteries there too.
Jeez, I hope not. Are her batteries dead?
Oh gosh.
Jeez, man. No, she worked the other day because I moved her and she came to life. Well, maybe not. Oh, there it goes. Her button, she was stuck underneath there. So let me put this back on here. So yeah, this is Lola. Now we're getting away from Lego. So here we're losing people that actually came for the Lego stuff. Like that's Lola. And this was like, I think I got it for $17. I think the price has gone back up now. I think it's back around 30 or something, 24. So it's still pretty inexpensive. It originally retailed for like $100. It's really awesome. It's so cute. So, and she's got different modes and all that. But yeah.
That's really cool.
Thanks, Lola.
So what kind of conversations y'all had? Like, what was the theory and speculation you got to finally unload on tonight?
Well, we're not doing a Patreon show tomorrow because I already spoiled everything. So,
It's,
no, I'm kidding.
well, Sunday, you mean? We're not going
Yeah,
into
Sunday.
Sunday at this point.
Sorry, yeah, Sunday there's not going to be
No more Anakin show. Yeah, Anakin.
Nope. We're done. We're done. Yeah. No. So there's been some really good questions there. In fact, I need to go back up on some of these questions. Let me just make sure I didn't skip anything. If I skipped your question, just throw it back in there, and I'll get to it. But I'm going to go back to these questions here. So Miss Sunflower had I think a follow-up question. It says, what do you think is Sabine's plan right now? I don't think she really has. I mean, outside of getting to wherever she needs to get and connecting with Ezra, I think she feels like if she can just get to Ezra, things will be okay. Like together, they'll figure this plan out. They'll get back. They'll rescue the galaxy, whatever it is.
Just Lola in the background.
There? She's like going off. She's got
her own theory about.
She's got her own theory. She's trying to get to the mic right now.
Right.
But I think that's about as far as it goes. Like I do feel like, she's probably got some regrets, but given her choices, much like we discussed yesterday, I don't think she had a lot of options. And I think she did what she followed her heart, and which is Ezra. And at this point, it's just, she's going to go with it. And hopefully that he holds true to his word and no harm's going to come to her and that she is going to be reunited with Ezra and they will figure it out when they get there. I think that is all that's going through her mind. I think she's probably thinking about losing her master too, which, she believes, which has got to be hurting her quite a bit.
Yeah, it's kind of a step one, right? And you can't get past step one because you don't know what comes after step one at this point because it's all completely uncharted and not what they expected to do. So, yeah, I mean, and not surprising. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Well, look at that. See, I found the piece that I couldn't find earlier.
See? Alex's presence just alone guided you to your piece.
He's like been like, he's got the
name
whip.
Right, but that's
no, he's a jockey. He's like sitting here jockeying me to build this thing, like row, and I'm sitting there yapping the entire time. Yeah. I mean, I don't think we're going to get through the Phantom. I joked that this was going to be like a 4-week program to build this thing. It's trending about 40 weeks at this point. So,
and that's like every night too. Yeah.
For every night between now and 2024, expect a live stream of me building this thinking thing here. Let me scroll back up here and see what else we had on questions. We talked about that. I think I saw one in here from 80s kid from the 90s. He said, what if Balin works with Barriss? I mean, what if she shows up in the last episode? Again, I think I want there to be a reason why she's there. And I think it's got to make sense. I don't want it to feel forced as much as, because I like the character and there's been some great theories out there. So I think at this point, I guess what I'm saying is I would probably be okay if they didn't now. Maybe Merrick was, their best shot. And we know that's not the case. So I think at this point, I think they just let that lie, man. I think we're probably past it. We don't have enough time to bring it in. If they want to bring her back, reintroduce her into another series or, somewhere down the road, book, novel. I don't even care, I guess, at this point, but right. I think it might be too late to do that. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, as much as I love Barriss Offee and Lauren and I did we at least intended to do a show on Barriss Offee. We kind of did it. For her to come back, I think there's a story left untold. Like we want to know what happened to her after the Clone Wars. Mm-hmm. So why does my microphone keep like cutting out? Hold on. Let me figure this out. Sorry.
We are professionals.
Well, no, all I did was change my headphones out. Like I just brought these in here because they were more comfortable, but like it just keeps cutting out on me. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, I think you were kind of going with what I was saying too. Like I want it to be, I need to know, I think, but I do want it to be meaningful. I don't want it to feel like it was rushed or feel like it was shoehorned in here just for the sake of telling the story. And I don't think Filoni would do that, honestly.
Right. And just because it's Filoni doesn't mean that it has to happen or it should happen in that kind of way. I think I'm with you. I think it needs to be meaningful of what Barriss Offee would be after the Clone Wars. I could see where. So I like the idea, though. I love the idea that you would almost think that she would be Baylan-like in that way, because she was disenfranchised. She was, cast aside. She didn't believe in what they were doing, and that started at a very early stage in the Clone Wars, and based on the short story from I can't remember the name of it. It's like a Jedi. We did a show on this. How can I not remember this? But anyway, yeah. But it was just really to have that with Barriss and be so synonymous with what Baylan has, shown us on screen now. It kind of feels like it's Barriss 2.0 almost of what she would have become if we were to pick up her story at this stage of her life, which I think is really interesting and exciting. And I could see why people want that, because I got to be honest. I mean, it would be interesting to see them connect, and what would that dynamic actually be between the two of them. And you could figure, I mean, Barriss was a really competent Jedi, even as young as she was, still a Padawan. And it seems like they would be a pretty formidable pair, especially if she was able to escape whatever the prison of the Jedi was. I'm kind of curious. She seems to be like a prototype for what the Inquisitors would have been. So would she have been a potential Inquisitor like Iskat Akaris was, because she seemed to have a lot of the same type of motivations and ideals, to where she would be indoctrined into that way of thinking, at least perceived way of thinking of freedom and, dogmatic ways being cast aside from the Jedi.
Mm-hmm. No, I want to see that confrontation between Ahsoka and her, right? Because I mean, she essentially was framed by her and caused her to leave the order. So it was, changed her life forever. I wonder if it's going to be even too late. Like we were talking about, we've already talked about all the Ahsoka the White theories and speculated on that, but I just have a feeling that if she does come out of this as that archetype, she's going to be a totally different person. Like I think she's going to be a little bit more loose, less, like more in tune with what really matters, kind of thing, and not hung up on some of this other stuff. I think it's going to be a very different dynamic. So I don't even know that that's even going to be a fight worth watching or seeing at that point.
Yeah, and maybe let me ask you a question about Ahsoka. She has so many loose ends that are just still lingering out there. Which of those loose ends do you think is the most compelling story for Ahsoka to go and revisit? Is it like a Barriss Offee, an Anakin Skywalker? Like there seem to be several, even Rex to an extent, although I think we've got a lot of closure in that space, and we're going to continue that story if you believe some of the rumors. So, is there any other loose ends for Ahsoka that seem more compelling than what we have with Anakin or Barriss, or any other ones out there that might stoke your interest if we were to come back and revisit for her specifically?
Yeah. I think most of them are either wrapped up, or I think he pretty much covered all the big ones. Like Maul is no longer a thing. She had a time there with him.
Right.
Ventress is gone, although they really didn't have too big a fight. Their lives were very similar in parallel in many ways. But yeah, I mean, it's Anakin first and foremost, I think. Trying to think who beyond that. I mean, she had the Marquez sisters, and that was it wasn't really, there's probably nothing there to resolve. But they certainly helped her get along her path. Yeah, so I'm trying to think. Rex, that might be it. I think he covered it. I don't know if there's anybody else. It's definitely the Vader one. I mean, reconciling, figuring out how to let go of that guilt that she's been carrying around for so long. That's where the story's at for me. And I think, again, speaking to what we saw in the final part of this episode, or part 4, it does look like we're going to get that in some way.
And maybe along those lines, do you think there was ever any interest of Ahsoka trying to reach out or find Obi-Wan Kenobi in any kind of way? I mean, I'm trying to think if we ever got any kind of confirmation that she knew that he was still alive or anything along those lines. But do you think that was ever an interest for her to be able to come back and explore and try to find him? Or do you think she had a presence, or maybe through communing with the Force, she understood that he had a greater purpose and decided to leave him alone? Or do you think there was anything there, or do you think it was just never really crossed paths, never had the opportunity, out of sight, out of mind? Or do you think there was any interest there?
Yeah, I think I would lean on her being more about, hey, if I go seek him out, then I put him at risk, I put myself at risk, kind of thing. Um, I don't know, like, and then I think later on, as part of Fulcrum, she probably had some intelligence around maybe him being out there. I would think that Bail Organa probably didn't tell her. Maybe
Yeah.
he did as part of Fulcrum, or maybe she had access to files and all of that. So maybe that's how she would find out. But yeah, I think she's probably okay with not contacting him simply because it puts her at risk. It puts him at risk. It puts the order at risk. Probably not the most prudent thing to do.
Right. And how hard is it to listen and take questions while you're trying to read instructions and build Lego?
It is extremely difficult.
I was
Like, it
about to
might
say,
be one of the
you
most
were moving
impossible
slow.
things.
You were moving so slowly.
Oh, don't even. I mean, I've been hearing it from my brother in the comments, but from other people
Yeah.
too. Like, this is not the smoothest going kind of thing. Well, I mean, I guess if you're here for like constant discussion, I've probably done a good job. Hopefully, whether it made sense or not, I don't even know at this point. But if it's more like laid back and I can take breaks and just build, then I think that's okay. So that's what I was trying to. Like,
Yeah,
it's not a show.
it's
This
more the
isn't a show.
conversation.
Let's be clear.
Yeah, it's a conversations piece, effectively, right?
It's me building Legos, and I'm talking about Star Wars. That's it. So get off my back.
Yeah, and for those that don't know, just a quick shout out to Vader's Girl 28. Go check out her channel because she likes to build puzzles and largely Star Wars puzzles. So please go check her out as well. And a little conversation, similar idea on her channel. It's enjoyable. It's kind of relaxing. It's therapeutic in many ways. So
It is now,
Yeah.
but guess what? Guess who's coming on that channel?
oh boy,
I went and bought a puzzle just for the. Let me see if I can find that.
oh did you? I've actually been thinking about petitioning Kara. Like, can I join your puzzle party? Because I have puzzles that, Stephanie will buy me puzzles, or I'll go buy them every once in a while, and I just get infatuated with sitting there and doing it for hours on end.
Well, I don't know where the puzzle went to now, but I bought one for the sake of this, and I actually messaged her and said, "Hey, I got a puzzle, and I want to come on your show." And she's like, "Let's do it." So I haven't had a chance to. I told her, well, in my head, I was thinking, okay, I'll wrap this build up here in like 3 weeks, and then I'll just do the puzzle thing. But as of right now, it looks like 2025 is the earliest I'm going to be able to get back to you, because that's when this thing is probably going to be built.
And then when he finally shows up, he'll be sick that day.
Right. Sorry, can't go on the air. I've lost my voice. But yeah, in fact, it's funny because the puzzle so I was in. I can't say where I was because it's where I got your Christmas gift. Ooh, you almost got me.
Almost.
But I went somewhere and bought the puzzle, and when I showed it to her, she said, "Oh, I've already done that puzzle." So it's one that she's already done on the show. I had no idea, but
She's done so many puzzles. They're fantastic. And
yeah.
I remember we used to trade pictures. Like, I'd be at Target or something like that. I'd be like, look what I found. I found this new puzzle. And she'd be like, I can't find that one anywhere. It was so much fun. So I miss those days, Kara. We need to bring those back.
That seems so much low key and low stress in this. This seems so stressful. Thank you, Alexandra, by the way. She said I'm doing great. So thank you. Thank you very much.
So all right. So talk about the Lego build. Is it, I mean, I know you're distracted and trying to do multiple things at once, but is it kind of a cool build? Like, there are some Lego builds that you're going through it and you're like, okay, that's kind of interesting how they did that. And I know you're working on, looks like the Phantom there, right? So
Yeah.
like, are there any kind of creative parts to how they're doing it? Or is it kind of a straightforward build, but is it overall kind of enjoyable? And Lego is kind of cool because every once in a while it's just kind of therapeutic. You just kind of a mindless activity, smaller steps. But how is this one? Is it complex? Is it interesting? What's the general take on it?
The pieces are smaller than I thought they were going to be.
Are your fingers hurting yet?
So I've been like shrekking half of the build the entire time, like King Kong, trying to put together a Lego set. I've broken a few things. No, I think this one's good so far. I know what you're talking about too, because I think you and I had a conversation, probably not on the air, maybe in person, about some of the builds. And I mentioned that the one that I did, so the Boba Fett that's up there, you probably, I don't know if you can see it up at the top, the Boba Fett figure helmet Lego set.
Yeah, let me spotlight that one here real fast.
Again, this is not a show. We're just having fun here. So this guy, right? This was fun. Like, I actually had a really good until I got to this part up here on the top. That was just nuts.
Right.
That was like, this is the equivalent of putting together like a 5,000 piece puzzle, like trying to understand like counting dots and all that. That was very difficult. But I think this was actually really fun to build. I had a really good time building this one, and the land speeder which I talked about at the beginning of the show, that's still sitting back there unfinished. And I will get to that at some point. Now it's looking 2026. But at some point when I was building that was a lot of fun too. Like, it's just the way it was designed and the pieces. And there's just something about like the rhythm, I guess, or the momentum you have as you're building.
Right.
That was great. I feel none of that with this build because this one, because of the stops and the discussion, this has been fun to do, but I couldn't tell you one way or the other. This feels like a hot mess. So, but we're going to keep plugging along here.
So
how about you? I know you've built a lot of Legos too. Do you have anything that you felt like at one point was really fun to build?
Yeah. So actually the one I'm showing up on screen, I think I've shown it before, is the Micro Fighters Ghost with Hera. Right. And I think you and I have talked about this. Actually, this is the one I told you the other day. You were like, I don't even know you. Like, who are you? Like the last time
you had it. Yeah.
Right. On my personal YouTube channel way back in the day, I actually did it was back when I just took pictures and just stitched all the pictures together. And it was like a still time lapse, if you want to call it that, of building that thing just for fun and to be able to do it. And it was just actually kind of just a fun little build. Probably the most fun I've had recently of what I still have in my collection, at least that's built, is right behind me. I can't pull it out, but it's the snow speeder, whatever they're called, like the collector sets. Mm-hmm. And it's massive. It's big. The frustration with those, and I'm curious when you actually get to the Ghost build, how you feel about this, is when you have to build both sides of it. Like, all right, I built this part already. I'm kind of done with doing that part of it. I don't have to go and build the symmetry of it all, and then you finally put it all together and get kind of back to the interesting part. But with some of the jets and the planes and things like that have a lot of symmetry, you end up building one side and then you have to go build the other. Even like the Star Destroyers and things like I've built in the past are kind of a similar story of that. Yeah, they're a lot of fun. Like the first time you kind of figure it out, and then you're like, oh crap, I got to go do it all again.
I had one of those moments earlier when I was building something. It was frustrating. I finally got through it. And I'm like, oh, thank God. And then I turned the page and it's like, now build 4 more of these things. I'm
right.
Like,
Yeah.
no,
4X.
I don't want to do that.
Do it again. Yeah. Rinse and repeat. We don't even print the pages anymore.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. But every once in a while you get to one that's like just a really cool build. Like, this is just a really dynamic build. And what's really funny is like the smaller builds are the ones I find more interesting, like the ones you get like in the advent calendars, of saying, okay, that was actually kind of clever how they figured out to make it that small with those
so
small
many little pieces.
And it still turn out and seem genuine, to where you're like, that's actually what that ship is. And that's actually pretty cool. That worked out pretty well. I find those almost more curious and ingenious. And actually what's really weird is when I joined Pinterest, about the only thing I ever did on Pinterest was find micro Lego builds, like the little mini Lego builds. I forgot what they called them at the time. But all of those little things, little city blocks and stuff. I actually built my office building downtown. We were moving out of it, and I was kind of sad that we were moving out of this building downtown. So I ordered all of these custom pieces, and I built the tower, like the downtown skyscraper of the building I was in, with the block and everything else, with trees outside and everything else. And it's just like kind of micro scale. It was just one of those weird things of like, how do I blow $70 in pieces that were mostly white and gray, for something it's literally sitting in the closet right now. So anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's just weird things that Lego kind of inspires out of you sometimes.
Yeah, there's a big market for those micro builds, especially the advent calendars. It's really creative. I equate that to when you think about like 8-bit graphics, or even before that, 4-bit graphics, like the Atari 2600.
Right.
It's just enough that you can actually make it out and go, oh yeah, I can see how that is it's the equivalent of that, where
back when we used our imagination.
You've got to use your imagination, right? You've got to apply a level of imagination in order for that to kind of get there. I'm going to pull something up. This is totally off script. I wasn't thinking about even doing this, but I want to show you something. This is a Lego build that I did on the basement. And this is the Knight Rider toy.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, so I built this. It's actually got the music. I don't know if the music's going to come through or not. It probably won't, but
I remember when you did this.
Can you hear that?
No.
No music? Okay. That's good. We'll probably get flagged anyways. It's a Knight Rider theme.
I remember when you did this. Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And this was a little fun build. This is actually from the Lego Dimensions video game that came out, short-lived. Had some really great pieces, though.
They had a lot of Scooby-Doo, if I recall.
Yeah.
I have the Mystery Machine stuff, too. It's great.
But yeah, this is the same kind of thing, right? There's very minimalist, not a lot of pieces, but yet it looks legitimately like, the thing that you're looking at. And so this is Kit and Knight Rider. Here comes the side view.
Very cool.
I even got a back shot of Mr. Hasselhoff here in a second that garnered a lot of comments. People liked it. Right there, look at that. Boom.
Oh, made you zero in on the ass. Nice. How fun is that?
Yeah. So those are fun. I actually really enjoyed that game too. I don't know why they stopped making it. It was really great. I missed that show. That podcast. Oh, what are we doing here?
I'm trying to fix the stupid screen. I don't know how you did this.
Oh, it's this one over here.
Oh, there you go.
That guy. Yeah, well, day 44.
You're going to start your own Mud 79.
Yeah, Mud 79. I'm just going to start carving notches in this grain up here of like how many days it's taken me to build this set.
September 8th, 2023. Day 44 of the build of the Phantom.
Oh, man.
I found the fuselage today.
What's that?
I found the fuselage today. Found Chopper's dome. It was hiding under the booklet.
Been that way so far. Some of these pieces, I'm like, I swear they didn't come, and there they are. They show up.
Yeah, anyway, I didn't mean to like interrupt your mojo and stuff. I heard I remembered you were doing the stream and came in and just thought I'd pop in and say hi.
Oh, thank you for doing that. You bought me some time.
Yeah,
I actually got more built while you were here.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, we got a dozen people watching, so appreciate everyone tuning in. If you have questions, I will be happy to put them on the screen for dearest Albert here to get distracted while he's building.
I mean, I'm happy to answer them, and I will. That was the deal. But if you're sticking around, you got to chime in too. You don't get off that easy, dude. Sorry. You have to answer the questions too. Is anybody with us tonight that hasn't watched the most recent episode of Ahsoka? Because that would be interesting to see that.
It's a really good question, yeah.
Or what do you think about the episode? What did you think? Like how off were your socks blown? That doesn't even make any sense. How much did you enjoy what we saw? And I've seen a lot of people talk about, like, here's what I would say. As you guys know, I do kind of traverse some of the darker circles of Star Wars fandom, and I dip my toe in and out and poke at them and start fires wherever I can sometimes. But I will say this, like, by and large, Filoni, similar to what Favreau did with The Mandalorian, it does feel like he has brought the fandoms together. Like they seem to be all kind of coalescing, rallying around him. Now, don't get me wrong, there are still some people out there, some really fringe outliers that just, hate everything they're seeing here, which is just mind blowing. I can't even rationalize that. But there are some people out there that do not like anything that they've seen from this series. And I just really struggled to understand like what it is that you want from Star Wars. I can only think they're like those, the George Lucas purists, the people that feel like anything that was not the original trilogy or the prequel trilogy should have never been made. And those, that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and that if that's your Star Wars, that's your Star Wars. But why are you watching this? Like, what are you expecting is going to happen? It's not Lucas, so therefore, why are you putting the time? It's outside of clicks, likes, and the attention. It just doesn't make any sense.
It's such a different era, too, for storytelling and the way that, we've talked about this a bunch of times on the show, too, of the way that our kids watch Star Wars these days and what they expect from it is very different than what you and I grew up with. And what you and I grew up with kind of a couple of different times, right? You have the original trilogy, but then you have the prequel trilogy, which was still very much inspired in that OT kind of way because it was still George Lucas and the way that he wanted to still tell stories. But what we got with sequel trilogy, what we get with the animated series, what we've seen in the, in the TV shows now on Disney Plus, just a very different way of doing it. So you're right. I think some people just want to be difficult and they know it's advantageous for them to be difficult. And I think some people get inspired by negativity in that kind of way. And one thing I've always been really happy about us is that we're realists about some things, right? And we try to take a pragmatic approach. But I really like it that we're able to try to get differing opinions, but also try to keep it somewhat positive and kind of focus on the story, man. What is the story? Does the story make sense? And sometimes, yeah, there's some inconsistencies. we've been pretty critical of that too in the past. But a lot of times, I mean, if you're watching Ahsoka and you're not in the story's not clicking with you, that's one thing. But I'm with you, man. With some of the compelling characters that we've had, and you can critique the writing if you want from time to time, but when you talk about the character development that we're getting, the dialogue that's being delivered, and the cinematography and the overall experience of this show, to me, it does feel like if you like Star Wars, this is probably speaking to you in some ways, to where it's hard not to be a bit enraptured about what you're seeing here. We did get a comment here by Alexandra. Feature this up on the screen here. It was a pretty amazing episode, ranging from the various dynamics being built between so many characters, and the fight scenes were incredible. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that kind of epitomizes it right there too, right? Of saying that, we're getting dynamics between the characters. We're getting dynamic, like you get the backfill of the story that we don't know, and that they were able to surprise us. I think, like you and I talked about the other night, the surprise that the rift between Ahsoka and Sabine was not necessarily just Ezra and Thrawn and differing opinions there, but something with her family, and that her family was potentially part of a Night of a Thousand Tears, was like, left me speechless. When I was thinking, I was like, holy smokes, are you serious? This is, that's what it was? Because I mean, that's serious business, right? Especially when you talk about how much family means to Sabine. I mean, hell, when you're thinking about Rebels, in many ways we're a family, right? One of the most, like, probably quoted lines from Rebels early on, when she's telling Ezra, what are you guys? We're a team, we're a family, or in many ways a family. So it's just really, it just speaks to the character and that consistency of the character throughout. If you liked Rebels, that consistency is very much still there.
Yeah, I agree. Like, there was some, the bigger surprises were, right. Night of a Thousand Tears, I guess maybe confirmation that she had lost her family. I think we may have presumed that was probably the case. But then just I think one of the things that really caught me off guard was I never would have thought that, we would be in a situation, or they'd be in a situation where Sabine now was a prisoner. Like, I didn't see that coming at all. Right. And that dynamic is super interesting. Like, I'm trying not to overthink it, because it could be just, she's there as a prisoner, and eventually she gets connected with Ezra and things move from on beyond that. But she's got to be a thorn in the side. Like, I can't see her being idle even on that ship. Or maybe she is. Maybe she's just going to bide her time until she finally gets reconnected with Ezra and do something there. But just her presence alone on that ship, between Morgan Elsbeth and Shin and anybody else, it's almost a slap in the face to kind of have her on board there from their perspective, I think. Well,
and maybe let's explore that for a minute. Let me just ask you a follow-up question on that. So do you think that Sabine really is defeated? And there goes that motorcycle again. Do you think that she's really defeated and actually down and out, like in the way that when she gives over the map, you really do feel like my options are spent. There's no other way for me to go forward. But do you feel like that's truly where she's at in that moment? Or, clearly it's going to be temporary, but do you feel like in her core, she feels like this is her lowest of lows at this point, or is there something more to it?
I think so. I think she's probably rock bottom, and the only thing she's holding on to is what Balin said. This is the last of your family, and that's her last hope. Everything rides on that. So yeah, maybe I'll kind of walk back what I just said. I maybe from that perspective, she's probably not going to make any waves. I think she's going to lay low, stay silent, do exactly what she's told, in hopes that they deliver her to Ezra, because that is the goal. It's been the goal since the epilogue of Rebels. And if there's any way of getting out of here, it's got to be through Ezra, right? She doesn't have the Force. She's completely disarmed. She's in, the binders at this point. They have all the advantages, and I don't think they're going to keep her on maybe they do for just aesthetically or for presentation. Maybe they keep her on board there on the bridge of the ship, but I would expect they're going to throw her in a cell at some point, and she's just going to sit there and wait, and until they get wherever they're going.
Yeah, I'm going to get to a couple more comments here in a second here, but I think one thing is also Hera's comment, once a rebel, always a rebel, definitely applies to Sabine, right? So even though this is a moment for her, and she might be in a cell, she might be confined, there might be a bit of hopelessness, it will come out. And as soon as she has that opportunity, and I'm with you, as soon as she maybe is able to reconnect with Ezra, things will shift really, really fast for her. And this is where I'm really curious about where Ezra is at now, because if Ezra is in a darker place, as we've kind of speculated is possible, depending on what is the actual situation with the Imperials and Thrawn and Ezra, because Ezra really is kind of on his own with all of these potential Imperials, not just Thrawn. You know, that could be a big swing, right? So it would be interesting to see where Ezra is in that space. So a quick hello to my Star Wars guys, which is our friend Rob, of course, Patreon member. Appreciate it.
Hey, Rob. Thanks for being here, man. Thanks for coming.
And JJ Skywalker, yeah, a comment here. He said, I waited for the first 4 to come out and then watch them together. It was a great experience and felt like I watched a 2 to 2.5 hour Star Wars movie. So that's a pretty cool experience.
I love that.
Have you watched these back to back yet? Or have you just, I mean, for the show prep, we usually just hit the same one over and over and over. But have you gone back and watched them as kind of a continuous stream yet?
I've not. That's actually a really good idea. I want to see how that flows, actually. Well, I think he probably spoiled it, but I hadn't considered that, you know, whether it was written as such. Because there is a, you know, we and this probably plays into what we mentioned when we talked about the runtime for, what was it, episode 2 or 3? Which one was the 30-minute one?
3.
Yeah,
3.
So we had said at the time that they likely did 30 minutes because when you take a step back at the end of the series, there's probably a natural cutting point for all of these stories, you know, based on the whole narrative, right, holistically.
Right.
So, but this episode, at least 5, feels like I'm not going to say it's a standalone. It's not, but there is a definite swing, right? We're going into another act at this point, and so I think it probably makes sense now if you watch the first 4. It probably all flows together. It probably has a very definite beginning, middle, and end, you know, aggregate. So I need to do that. I think that's a great idea. I hadn't even considered doing that. I'll have to do a watch like that here soon and see how that turns out.
Yeah, and JJ, let us know. I mean, you said it was a great experience, but was there anything specific you had from it, or anything that you were able to gain and kind of gather from that, from seeing it all together? That would be really interesting to hear. And I'm with you. I think we speculated a bit like this before when we did the final hype show, that the first half of the season was going to be a little bit more driven by Ahsoka and Sabine, which we definitely got. Although I think I was pleasantly surprised that these first 4 episodes really introduced us and got us invested in these other characters, which we were hoping for, especially characters like Baylan and Shin to an extent, although we don't know a whole lot about Shin. We probably have more with Baylan than we do with Shin. And then Morgan Elsbeth, I think, has been a bit of a surprise bonus in some ways. We had expectations, I think, a little bit of her, but she's always a very even keel, very deliberate character. But that mystique and the Night Sister aspect of that alone has really brought her to be a much more interesting and dynamic character. And I got to be honest, that dynamic with Shin and that tension between them probably helps that quite a bit, that where you just know that there's something more. It's not just I'm above everyone. It's this child over here. She kind of looks at her just another child of Baylan's, you know, kind of thing. But, you know, when you think about some of that, the experience of the different characters has really brought the entire ensemble, I think, to life. And when you get to episode 4, when they all kind of come together finally, everything kind of, you know, fits together and feels like, yeah, we've really achieved something here, to JJ's, you know, perspective here of what he was sharing, of saying that everything came together and actually came together well to round this out. And to your point, we're ready to make that next step. Yeah. And it's almost fitting that A World Between Worlds is the one that makes us take that next step, which is the step in between all the steps, right? So
right, yeah.
It's kind of cool.
The place in between all the places.
Exactly. That's the fulcrum point, if you want to call it that.
Oh, my goodness. Ba-dum-bum. That's going to do it, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you next week. Hey, so all joking aside, look at this.
Look at you, man.
Progress. We have the Phantom 2, so it has finally been put together.
Glorious.
So this opens up here like that. The front opens up, and you can put your monitos,
so
or
fits one figure, I guess, one minifigure.
Yeah, here's the one that, oddly, this is the figure that came with the first bag. It's the stinking Mon Calamari guy. Why did I forget his name now? Yeah, like, why wouldn't they give you, Hera or somebody? But either way, so he goes in there. Well, he probably shouldn't be in there.
And knowing the series now that we've watched it, like, it makes even less sense why we would have Mon Cal.
Why would he be in there? I didn't put any stickers on here because that was going to be, just a comedy of errors. Honestly, watching me pull stickers off and put them upside down. On the back, it's got like this little cargo compartment, so that opens up.
Oh, nice.
And you can stick all these weapons. There's all these pieces left over, and this always freaks me out because I know you always kind of have pieces at the end of Lego builds or, stuff, but this seems like a lot. I probably missed some steps. I'm just going to be completely honest. But yeah, there's like some extra weapons, and those all kind of go into the back of the compartment there.
Sure, yeah.
So yeah, and then this just folds in to kind of give it that angular kind of thing. But yeah,
very cool. That looks sharp, man.
So 2 hours, man. That's all it took.
Are there rails or anything that it looks like it slides into to fit onto the Ghost? Just kind of initial.
Yeah, I think it does.
Here?
Yeah, if you kind of look at the bottom there.
Okay, so it probably just slides
in or sets down, one of the two. Yeah.
Okay,
looks like it's going to slide
that makes
in there.
sense. Yeah.
So yeah, tune in next year when I get there, because that'd be kind of cool to watch it.
Yeah, coming 2026. Rob's got a comment here. So in the end of Rebels, Ezra made such a big deal for Sabine to come find him. I think that was totally on her mind during this final decision to not destroy the map.
Yeah, it was. It's been on her mind all through leading up until this point. It was on her mind at the very beginning of the episode when Ahsoka was trying to feel her out because she was getting a sense that either, this could happen potentially, or, she was in tune with the Force and feeling like, hey, something could go wrong here. And then they had the second follow-up conversation that was very similar. Like, are you sure? Can I trust you kind of thing? I don't think she was lying to her.
Right.
But I think Sabine knows herself, and we know Sabine. And I think we said this on the show last night. Like, if you thought she was going to not hand that over, you don't know Sabine, and you don't know the Rebels crew. And that's not, again, not shade. I'm not making fun of anybody, but, that's just, it was a no-brainer that she was going to do that. So because of that reason, it's on her mind. This is the whole point. This is what she's been tasked with, and it has been first and foremost what she's been trying to go after. And if we want to feed into some of the theories that we threw out there, part of the rift that they probably had, part of the, maybe part of why they weren't able to gel as a master and apprentice and had some animosity between them when we get to the beginning of this series, it may have been for that same reason. In her mind, she was going after Ezra. In Ahsoka's mind, she was going after Thrawn. So yeah, I don't think this is the first time they've treaded that territory or had that discussion, I guess.
I think what makes it work though is that you definitely see the conflict of Sabine. Like she hears Ahsoka's words in her mind too. She knows what the quote unquote right way, the right thing to do is. And she knows she wants to do it, but you're right. She just can't let go of this family and what Ezra means to her, and that Ezra did. I mean, and there's part of me, the more I've thought about this, is does Ezra know something I don't know as Sabine, right? Of where I need to find him because that is important in some way, and I don't know that I understand that, but he does, and I have so much faith in him because he has these moments of clarity, because of the abilities that he has, because of his training with Kanan and so on, that I have to have faith and believe in Ezra more so than even faith in Ahsoka, even though what Ahsoka is telling me makes a lot of sense. So
yeah.
I like that there's other aspects of that going through her mind. It's much more dynamic than just what Ahsoka is telling her and what she believes is right. I think Sabine knows what's the right answer, but again, is there something she doesn't know, and that risk and uncertainty, win the day in this case here. And again, we talked about this on the show. Really, what choice does she really have at this point? I mean,
yeah, her options are pretty limited right now.
You have one choice, yeah.
Yeah.
Although you and I did, to peel back the curtain, we had a fun conversation about what would happen if Sabine actually shot the map at point blank range. Given that Balin's lightsaber took a while to actually carve it,
and not a whole lot, is my guess. I don't think it would have done anything. Like, and maybe Balin knew that. Maybe that's why he was so confident about it. Like, okay, let's just talk about this kind of thing, because he's thinking this thing, there's no way. I mean, I could take my lightsaber to it, and it would take a while to do it. A blaster bolt to it, especially in its state, it wasn't even opened up, right? It was solid. It was like completely closed. Right. I don't think it would have done a whole lot. I think if anything, she would have probably blown her hand off, which would not have ended well. But for the sake of the scene and the the drama, I mean, it makes sense.
Right. I mean, you got to suspend all of the I don't know, all of us of what, like, we want to put realism to a lot of this stuff because it's fun to speculate and have fun and get invested in the characters. But I mean, you got to, there's the drama, there's the TV aspect, the entertainment aspect of it all. Of course, you got to take that step back. But I theorize that it would probably just shot her right back in the face.
Yeah, like bounce right off. Yep.
Yeah, so he had nothing to lose. Like, he's going to get what he wants either way. So can he kind of do it the non-violent way and maybe get something out of it? Or, you know, I joked it was 2 birds with 1 stone because she's a wren, which is a bird.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. I know they're I have my sound effects, but I just don't want to use them.
I've got them. I just don't. I can't. I'm not going to pull that off now.
Yes.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm probably good. I mean, we're coming up on 2 hours. I don't know that I'm going to keep doing this. I think so here's what I'll do. I think I'm going to continue to build pieces of this, and he said, "Oh boy," he's talking about
get the
joke.
Structure done. Yeah.
No, he's talking about your joke there in the chat.
Oh, yeah,
there's a delay.
Yeah.
We've got a 30-second. So by the way, if you didn't know, there's always like a 30-second delay. So sometimes when you put something on there, by the time I see it, there's the whole time travel thing that happens there, right? But he's just now responding to your dad joke there about the wrens.
Excellent. Yeah, well, I appreciate it.
So,
why you don't get those responses on the live stream? I don't understand. I feel slightly offended.
It's true, and I'm like dropping them left and right. Do you ever
go? Sorry to interrupt. Did you ever go back? I know you don't really listen to the show after it's been edited. Like when you edit it, you listen to it then. But when we release it, we don't always go back and listen to the final product. Every once in a while, I'll put sound effects in there of your jokes.
Really?
Yeah, I will. I'll go in and put sound effects. I'll put crickets. I think when Fred swore this last week, I'll do the R2D2 excited sound to cover it up.
Wow, that one.
Right. Yeah, or the wah 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 wah, kind of thing. And I should have probably done. Actually, I should go find a chopper soundboard or something like that. That would be kind of fun for Ahsoka.
That would be, yeah.
Yeah, so I'll plug those in every once in a while. But usually with your dad jokes, I will just insert a lot of silence and I'll put crickets, just for fun.
Well, thank you. I think I don't know what to say.
I'm not allowed to edit shows anymore.
I don't know.
That's not
this
true.
Is,
you don't want
this
to do
is
it
a big
either.
revelation. I don't know how to feel about this. We probably should talk after the show. I don't know what I'm doing here. I am completely out of my
so what's your strategy with the build and future live streams then?
Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do, like, this was fun. So thank you again, everybody who came out and supported the build. And honestly, the questions, like, there was some really good discussion here. I was joking. I was like, I don't know if I'll release this out. Maybe I'll just stick it on Patreon, but I think we'll just leave it out there. There's some good stuff, some good conversation that came out of this. And I think for the build sake of it, though, I think I will just continue to build off air from time to time, and then just use the time, because I don't want this to drag on. Like, all joking aside, I didn't want this, never intended this to be like a 20 episode kind of series of building the Ghost. But maybe what I'll do is kind of film, much like I did with the Knight Rider thing I did, where I just do what is it called?
Yeah, time lapse.
Time lapse, yeah.
Right.
And just to kind of speed up time and throw that out there. And if anybody wants to watch that it's available. And then we'll just kind of pick this up and keep it again a little bit more casual in terms of what we're actually talking about and how we're fielding questions. Because, yeah, it's not the easiest thing. I don't know how Vader Girls does this with like puzzles. That seems like even more stressful.
Yeah, because you actually have to like think, and you have to look at the sizes and the design, the color scheme, and everything else. Yeah, that's.
Well, this is no short order. I mean, you're like counting, rivets and.
Right.
The colors don't always line up.
They're called studs, my friend. Studs.
Studs. Sorry. Thank you.
Right.
I need bifocals now, apparently. But yeah, let me just finish this last piece here, this last page, and I think that'll be a good. I think what I'm building here is actually the Ghost now. At some point, looks like it's the structure of the bottom part of it. So
yeah, it looks like the base. Yeah. Well, cool. Hey, I appreciate letting me kind of crash it. I was just kind of linger in the background and make fun of you and make hand gestures.
No, you did a good job.
Stuff.
You did a good job with that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, not so much when I came on, but at least in the background, it was fantastic.
Yeah. Right. Thank you.
Alex is demanding a montage.
Yeah, that's probably. I'll set it to music. That's about as montagey and as about as 80s as I'm going to get. But I'll do a time lapse and.
There you go. You could do it to the Ahsoka end credits music. Yeah.
Yeah, I would, but then it gets
Rebel.
flagged.
Yeah, man. Yeah, true. You have to find something on YouTube Music that's like inspired by it, but not the same.
You know what? Actually, I can use
Epic,
is
dramatic, cinematic.
I can use the soundtrack to SWTOR.
You know, I've done the same thing for a handful of things before, and they've not got flagged. But again,
Nope.
I had like 5 views, so it didn't matter.
Well, that's true. Yeah, but yeah, that doesn't normally get flagged, and that music's great. Like it's
It's really good.
it's really good. It's not Williams and it's not Kiner, but it's like the next level below that, I think.
You got 2 votes now. My Star Wars guys. Yes, Alex, I second the montage.
Well, both of the guys that are saying that were born like in the early 80s to late 70s.
Hey, I'm
so-
gonna go ahead and third it, because if you get 3, then you have to do it. So I'm gonna
Oh.
go ahead and do it, because we're not gonna get a montage in Ahsoka. So
Yeah, that's
you might
called
as well
porn.
make your own.
All right. Well, I think we'll end the stream there. We're coming up on 2 hours. Again, thanks everybody. I'll move this off here. We don't need that anymore. Oh, look at you. All front and center there.
Yeah.
Here, let's restore
All
order. There you
sweating
go.
from it being outdoors. Yeah.
The galaxy has been restored. So yeah, thanks for coming out. Jonesy, thank you for joining. Thank you for everybody that came
was
in
fun.
with their questions. Hopefully I didn't spoil too much from based on what we're going to talk about here on Sunday. So
I thought
again,
you talked spoilers for a minute. I was like, Albert.
oh no. Spoilers with regards to what some of my talking points when we talk
gotcha.
about this Sunday. So Sunday we'll come back again as a programming note. We're going to talk about the World Between Worlds, really kind of our thoughts and opinions on where we think Ahsoka is. Is that really Anakin? We're going to talk about some of the other theories, and we did some of that tonight as well, but we're going to talk about some of the other theories that are out there and not necessarily poke holes in them, but just kind of talk maybe about where we think these things do work and where we feel like they don't work. But we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on that. We do want to focus primarily, I think, on what we think and where we think that, this could lead the show overall with Ahsoka and in her journey, which, again, I spoiled a lot tonight. But yeah, that should be a lot of fun. So that'll be Sunday, 9 p.m., and then we won't have another show until Thursday, maybe Wednesday. I don't know. We need to talk about that because I have a feeling this episode 5 is going to be really dense and there's going to be so many talking points. It may make sense. I don't think I'm going to be able to wait 48 hours to do the show. I'm going to want to talk about it the day after. So, we may do a Wednesday kind of show for that one. But
Which is actually really advantageous, because I was supposed to be in Oregon this week and decided not to go for work. So I can actually swing Wednesday now. So that's great.
see, it's the will of the Force.
It was.
Alexander said it was a fun time. Thank you for doing the stream. Thank you very much. I very sincerely appreciate that. That's very awesome and sweet of you. So, all right, I'll roll credits. And again, Jonesy, thanks for bailing me out here and giving me time to build this, because I don't know that I would have finished, honestly, had you not got here. Because
You just need someone to run interference. It's fine.
exactly, quarterback this. So maybe
man
lessons
the
learned.
stream. Yeah.
Yep. All right, guys. Thanks so much. We'll see you here in just a few days.
You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.